Isn't he clever? Michael Edan was born and raised in Battle Creek, Michigan before eventually moving to New York. He works in the holistic health field as an actor, director, and playwright, and his most recent full-length play, A Red Bloom in Winter, was a finalist for the 2019 Stanley Prize for Drama. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Edan.
How do you become a speaker for the dead? For me, it was a gradual process that took over 50 years. And I believe that unseen forces were guiding me. It begins in 1963, Battle Creek, Michigan, on a bitterly cold January morning. A woman by the name of Daisy Zick is home. She's preparing to leave to meet a friend for coffee before she continues on to work. But she never makes it because someone savagely stabs her to death 27 times. And the city is shocked, stunned. I mean, it's considered one of the most vicious murders that ever took place in Michigan. Now, a year and a half later, my mother, after 15 years of raising 2 boys on her own, she decides to remarry. She'd been dating a very nice man, my older brother and I. We really like him. But there's something she needs to tell us first. A year and a half earlier, his wife, Daisy, had been murdered. And they never found out who did it. Now, she wanted to make sure that we knew he was not a suspect. That was good news. Because he had already been at work for several hours when the murder occurred. But she also needed to let us know we'd be living in the house where it happened. Really? We're living in the house where... Why? Well, apparently it's very difficult to sell a house once a murder has taken place in it. It was a very nice house, but I have to admit that the first couple of months there, any strange, unusual sound would sort of spook me, especially in the basement where my brother's and my bedroom was. And my brother at school, he and I became minor celebrities because once the students found out where we lived. Also, he and I secretly read articles about the murder, complete with gory pictures in True Detective magazine. Occasionally, when my parents and my brother were out of the house, for some reason, don't ask me why, I would sit alone. I dare myself to sit in the dark. No TV, no radio, just keeping silence. Company. It usually didn't last more than 15 minutes. And I also had to investigate the room, the spare bedroom, where the murder had happened. And I discovered something. There were cut out pieces of carpet laid over cut sections of the original carpet where there had been blood stains. I thought that was a little weird. My stepfather, he was a frugal person, but really? Anyway, 25 years later, I'm living in New York now, and one afternoon I'm taking a tarot reading class by a well-known psychic, and it's almost the end of the class, and she says she has time for one more reading, and she asks the class who the reading should be for. Theater people should appreciate this. As if on cue, everyone turns and points to me. And I sense something unusual is about to happen, and it does. As she's laying down the cards, one after another, she tells me a story about a woman, a very attractive woman, petite. She's married. She also has a lover. I had heard about this. She sees in the cards an act of violence, very bloody, a stabbing. She says the woman was murdered. Then she gets a name of a flower, rose, no, Daisy. She asks me if any of this makes sense, and I say, as I feel the blood drain from my face, yes. Then she says, you're supposed to write about this. I'm supposed to what? I sense a nudge from Daisy. 15 years later, I'm with some friends, and for some reason I share the story of Daisy. maybe because the year before was the 50th anniversary of her murder. And one of them says to me, you know, you should write about this. This would be an interesting play. Another nudge from Daisy. So I started writing the play. And it was an interesting process. It took over a year, and there were times, just as strange, where it seemed almost as if I became the blank page and Daisy would write on me. I learned a lot about her wicked sense of humor, her understanding of human nature, her passion for life, and especially her courage to be her own person. And I discovered what's important about her story isn't who killed her. The deeper meaning, at least for me, one that seemed to have traversed 50 years of a relationship with someone I never even met, was a renewed appreciation for how every life is precious. Every life has value. Every life holds mystery. I still get occasional nudges. For instance, a couple of weeks ago, I received in the mail from a relative some documents that belonged to my stepfather, and among them was Daisy's original death certificate. On it, cause of death, multiple stab wounds. I experienced it not only as an acknowledgement, but sort of a little high from Daisy. So I think it's only appropriate that she should have the final word, which also happens to be the final line of the play. It's always nice to be remembered.